Side quest.
Side quest.
Side quest.
Side quest.
Game.
Stuff.
Side quest.
Welcome, everybody, to Game Stuff Podcast. This is a special episode. We called the first episode like this bonus episode, but we realized like we're redacting that.
We're not
taking
too
it back.
keen on
We're
that
traveling
name.
back. That's a stupid fucking name.
God, we were stupid
It's
back
not
then.
a bonus episode because we're just replacing the regular episode with it when we're both not
You
available.
know what? I feel like we lied to our fans.
We did lie to our fans, and we are so sorry.
We told them they were
But
getting something extra, but really they were just
No,
getting
you're
more of
just
this
getting-
bullshit.
You're just getting something lesser.
Yeah.
So we're calling these new episodes when we're both not going to be in town side quests.
Yeah, you know,
we're
like
going off the beaten path. We're
video
going to do
games.
things a little differently, just like video games. Just like video games. This episode, it's fresh out of the pool, Sean, wouldn't you say?
I'd say we were just swimming we hopped out of the pool.
We just hopped out of the pool, right onto the mics.
Right onto the, yeah.
We're
we have the
splish
mics
splashing,
in the pool.
having a bath, having fun over here. Yeah, so Sean, tell us what's going on here. You're going out of town or something?
Yeah, so I'm going out of town. I'm going back to Pennsylvania, and then I'm going to New York. Both of the places that I grew up.
You going to the Big Apple?
No,
Oh.
not the Big Apple. We're going to upstate New York.
Wait, I
Near
thought New York was
Rochester.
New York City. Is there another New York that's not New York City?
New York, upstate New York, like Rochester and Albany. So the reason I'm going there is I was born in Rochester, lived there for about a year. Don't remember shit about that.
Dude,
Came
why
down
not?
to Pennsylvania.
Oh, you were wasted the whole time, weren't you?
Oh, I was 1 year old. Yeah, totally.
Alcoholic.
Came down to Pennsylvania, started life there, started a farm, had a family.
Oh.
I mean, they had me, I guess. I didn't really have a family. They were just my family.
Okay.
So it's not like I birthed a whole family of children or anything like that.
Right.
Don't want to mislead you. This is a side quest, not a bonus episode.
Well, yeah,
So then I'm going, then like every couple months we'd go back up to New York because my uncle and my grandparents lived on this sweet ass lake. And you know how fun lakes are?
Wait, how did they live on the lake? Did they have like a floating house or something?
Well, we actually do have many floating devices.
Okay.
A boat, another boat, a third boat, and then we have this thing called the
So
avalanche.
you have a boat, another boat, and a third boat.
And Sea-Doos, and one of those
And
little,
Sea-Doos.
what's
Okay,
like
so little
a
boats.
paddle boat. We have a paddle boat where
you have like
paddle
okay.
with your feet.
Right, yeah, like a paddle boat. What
Is it
about like
called
a
a
remote
paddle boat or
control
a pedal boat?
It's a paddle boat.
Okay. And with the avalanche, let me tell you about the avalanche. It's this
Okay.
giant inflatable mountain that you put in the water, and you climb up one side, and then there's this huge tube full of air on the other side.
Uh-huh.
A little kid goes out on the end. There's a target. Goes out on the end, and you
No.
jump off the mountain,
No.
and you land on the tube, and the kid goes flying
So it's like
at least
Heavyweights.
10 feet.
The Blob from Heavyweights. You remember that?
I don't know
With Ben
any
Stiller,
of those
the
things.
Disney movie where like it's a bunch of fat kids go to fat camp.
Oh, the one that you showed me?
Yeah. You never saw that?
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh. If you guys are new to the podcast, you're in for a treat because normally this is a weekly video game hangout show where we just kind of get together, we talk about games. We're just two guys who make games talking about games.
Yeah.
But since we're on this side quest path today, we're going to go down a different route.
I'll be out of town. Brad can't really hold down the hatch.
No,
on
I
his
can't hold
own,
down the hatch on my
so
own. I can't hold down the hatch. I mean, the hatch is just going to bust right open,
you know
if
what
I'm just
happens
holding it
then.
on my own.
Everyone gets in.
Yeah, and we talk about all the current weekly news, updates, all of these kinds of things. But since this is being recorded ahead of time, we're showing you a little bit of behind the curtain right now.
How the sausage is made.
Exactly, we're the Wizard of Oz right now.
We are the Wizard
Don't
of
look
Oz.
behind the curtain. There's
And
no
then he-
reason to
yeah.
look behind the curtain.
And then he just straight up gives up.
Yeah.
It's like he's been hiding his whole life.
I know, and he's
then
like,
suddenly, oh, sure, here you go.
No, I can't believe someone actually looked behind the
Yeah,
curtain.
I like you guys. That
Like, how
fucking
many
dog
years-
ruined everything.
How many years was he behind that curtain just telling people, don't look back there, there's nothing to see behind the curtain?
How do you think he ate? Did he have servants bring him food behind the curtain?
Well,
They had to go behind the curtain. Someone
well,
had to see behind the
but
curtain.
they could have just slid something underneath the curtain.
Was there clearance under there?
I don't remember. We're gonna have to go back and look and
Yeah.
see if there's clearance.
We'll check.
But anyways, so this side quest episode, we're gonna kind of dive back into our past a little bit, like we did before.
Roll back
We're
the
gonna try to
sands
make
of
it a little
time.
more interesting for everyone. Hopefully, I don't know. If
More
that's
interesting than
possible,
what?
Than the last one.
The last one was perfect.
Okay. Well, we're gonna make it even more perfect.
It was goddamned perfect.
We're gonna talk a little bit about what our like most formative console was. I think last time we
Yeah,
talked about
most
like
influential.
what got us into games.
Yeah.
And I think for both of us it was the Game Boy.
Yep. Well, Game Boy Color for me.
But things are gonna branch off
Even
and get
better.
a little bit different for each of us this time. I mean, like.
Yeah.
We may have been best friends for 15, 20 years, however fucking long it's been
How
now.
old are we
But
now?
I don't know. We're still young boys though, so don't need
Strapping
to worry
young
about it.
lads.
And so I guess just jump right into it then, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
sure.
Sean,
I'll go for it.
Tell me about.
Should I just go for it?
Yeah, let's just
Okay.
go for it. Wait, hold up. Do we go in chronological order? If my console's earlier than your console, or do you go because your story's going to be way less interesting than mine?
I think we save the best for the last and the greatest also for the last, and that's me.
Okay.
So you go first.
All right, fine. I'll go first, but actually what you mean is the best.
Because
is
what will
going
happen,
first.
I think what we should do, we should have some empathy here. We should think about what's going through our listeners' minds as they listen. I think this is a good time for them to take a nap, tune out for about 20 minutes, and then come back for some excitement, and I'll wake you up, we'll get your blood pumping, we'll go from there.
No, we're going to get the blood pumping right now. All right, everybody, let's go, game pals. It's time to dive back. We're traveling back in time. We have arrived. It is the year 1996. I
Good
am
year.
but a strong young man.
Now tell
At
me,
7 years old.
tell me, where'd all that strength go?
Well, Sean, after as you age, your body it forms in different ways, and certain other parts get stronger,
way
and
worse
larger,
ways.
and better than other parts, and maybe some of those parts you can't see necessarily. Not
They're
everyone gets to
invisible
see
parts?
those parts,
Invisible
but other
parts?
people may get to see those parts, and then maybe that's where the strength is gone. So, anyways, I'm 7 years old, Sean.
Yeah,
Mr.
I doubt that
Derailer
story.
over
I doubt
here.
that
Where did
story.
the strength go? I've got all the strength still. Plenty of strength. So much strength.
I love how I derailed you and then you proceeded to derail yourself.
Okay, I'm 7 years old, right? I go to some kid's house. I don't even remember who this kid is. I remember being
Unimportant.
at this kid's house, but I don't remember who the kid is. Isn't that so weird? It's
That is
you remember
weird.
being there, but I don't remember anything about the people or the place except for there was something on the TV. This kid was playing. It was motherfucking Mario 64.
Wow.
City 4.
I thought you were going to... Oh, I see where this is going. Never
Okay,
mind.
so Mario City 4 on the TV.
Yeah.
Right?
City Faux Cent.
City Foes. And I was absolutely blown away. Up to this point, I had played Game Boy, and my parents had a Super Nintendo, so I was very familiar with the Mario Bros. You know,
Marios and the
I was
Luigis.
practically a brother myself.
Of course.
Was obsessed with Super Mario Brothers 3.
They had the normal one, they had the slightly weird green one, and then
Yeah.
they had the straight up retarded one. And that was Brad.
Okay. And so I loved Mario. And when I saw Mario 64, it absolutely blew me away. Like, my mind was broken. I was like, holy shit, that's Mario running around this world. And for some, do you remember, how that when you played your first 3D game or you saw your first 3D game, it felt so, distinct. I don't think, Zelda Breath of the Wild is the closest I've ever had to,
Yeah.
to have that feeling of excitement.
You're just like,
and,
I can
just
do that?
absolute, I don't know. Yeah,
I can move in that many directions.
and the world was so bleak and bland, and there was nothing to explore. Yet at the same time, it felt so exciting.
Because it's that much closer to what you experience in the real world.
Yeah. So I saw Mario 64, and I was like, "This is amazing." And so it turns out that was played on a Nintendo 64.
Oh.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
Nintendo 64 game
Good
console.
facts.
That's not what this fucking segment is about. It's not the N64 segment.
Wow, you really baited us into that one. With
I know.
Your 5 minutes of intro on the N64.
Tripping you up, yeah. So what happened was I went. So my grandparents were always probably the biggest supporters of my video game addictions, because they had in their house, which is absolutely crazy if you for most people, they had an arcade cabinet, the Nintendo Choice 10 arcade cabinet that you would see in arcades, where it's 10 NES games, and you put quarters in to get so much time. So you would have so much time, and you could play any of the Nintendo games you wanted.
Could you switch
with the
back and
amount of
forth?
time. Yeah, you could keep switching, and you could play as long as your time didn't run out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you were playing for lives or anything like that, like you would in most arcade games. It was literally just a Nintendo in there and a timer hooked up to quarters going in. So, but they had this Nintendo Choice 10, and it was rigged up so that obviously you didn't need quarters, so you could just play it infinitely. And so I had grown up playing those games up to this point, and I remember telling my grandparents, we gotta get the Nintendo 64. This thing is amazing. It's so awesome.
Yeah, because you
And
knew they'd get it.
Oh, I knew they would. Yeah, my grandfather, my pap, awesome dude. He is like so always wanting to stay up to with the latest trends in technology. And I think I mentioned maybe in the last story that like he's Bloodbath 63 on like Bloodbath 43. Bloodbath 43 on PlayStation Network.
Oh, was he born in 43?
Yeah, he was born in 43.
Wow.
So he's Bloodbath 43 on PlayStation Network. So I tell them I want a Nintendo 64. Like probably a couple months go by and I like forgot about the Nintendo 64 at this point, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm back in my normal like gaming world of like fucking shitty 2 generations ago consoles, you know, NES.
Ew.
So all of a sudden one day they're like, we got a surprise, and I like it clicked. I was like, holy shit, it's the Nintendo 64. And they bring this box out from the back and it's like this weird, it looks like, you know how like when you look at a product and like there's all those like fake products from Japan where you're like, ew, that's like some sort of fake gaming console or fake something. Yeah. They brought this thing out that like looked totally like that. It was like, ew, this is some fake. What is this? It's not a Nintendo.
Yeah.
It was called the Sony PlayStation.
Yeah. What is
Sony? I was like, what is this? They brought it out and I was like so disappointed. I was like, this is terrible. This is not what I wanted. You know, like when you're a kid and you like don't get what you want, your parents somehow think they know what you really want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, no,
no,
like, Mom,
fuck my
no,
life,
Dad,
Mom,
no grandparents. That's not what I want. So they bring out.
You just don't know me.
You don't know me. So they bring out the Sony PlayStation. I'm so disappointed. They hook it up. They put in this game called Pandemonium, which is like
Christ.
this 2D. It's like this 2.5D platformer.
Yeah.
And mind was blown. I fell in love. Yeah, I fell in love immediately with it.
Wow, that
was like,
fast.
yeah, it was like it's so quick because you're so young. You know, I was like 7 years old, and it was still way cooler than the Nintendo. You know,
Yeah.
There was like a cool CG cutscene intro.
Like the game itself doesn't have to be good at all.
No, exactly.
It just has to look okay. Not even great.
Yeah, and so I played that and it blew my mind. And then a couple days later, this new game, they picked it up. They plugged it in. It starts up. And it's like do 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 do. That's just a little hint for anyone out there if they know what this is.
Now I'm gonna have to do that for my games.
Yeah.
From now on.
And so all of a sudden, then there's wow, and it's Crash Bandicoot, and it's like, what is this? This looks insane. Fire it up, and this game is more 3D. It's still like not like Mario 3D where you can go anywhere in the world, but it's like you're moving 3D down a lane.
It's like they took 2D and they made it 3D.
Yeah, because they couldn't quite like. I think they just didn't want to be an exact ripoff of like Mario.
Yeah.
And also like they wanted to make a game I think that was like better looking than Mario. Like they actually use textures and stuff where Mario 64 doesn't use anything like that.
What do you mean?
Mario 64 I don't think actually uses textures. It's just like straight up colors on surfaces.
No, it has textures. It definitely has textures.
Well, for the most part they're
just
not,
real
like,
shitty. And like most N64 games and a lot of PS1 games, you can see like the texture resolution is so low, you can see the pixels. They're blown up, so it's like you see 4 different shades of green in the grass, and that's it.
Well, regardless, they were like pushing the PlayStation in a way that like no one had done up to this point. So it was a beautiful game, and it had a ton of character. The music was cool, the sounds were awesome, and I just absolutely was enamored with Crash Bandicoot. In fact, that was the first time where I think like I was dangerously obsessed with a video game.
Yeah.
Where it was like all I could think about.
Not the last time.
No, definitely not the last time. Definitely not the last time. But it was the first time where I remember just never stopping thinking about it. All day long, I was just aching. Like, you know, like when you're in school and you're like, oh my God, when is school going to be over? You're like looking at the clock, just like, oh, it takes so long.
Enemy.
And then as soon as I would get home, I would run into the house, like not even say hello to my grandparents, run downstairs, turn on the TV, turn on the PlayStation, done.
So
go.
it was at your grandparents' house?
Yeah, because every day I like
they had to
basically
lure you over there.
Well, no, they didn't have to lure me over. If you didn't know this about me already, my mom worked till like 5 p.m. So like she didn't want us getting dropped off at home without her there. And my grandparents lived like less than a mile away from my mom's house up the road on Swamp Bridge.
That's so weird. That's like such a quaint, antiquated little village life.
Yeah, it is. And so the bus would drop us off there instead. And then we'd have dinner with my grandparents, and then they would drive us home. So at like 6 p.m. usually. So I would have like 2 or 3 hours of like solid gaming time if my grandparents didn't want to have the TV on downstairs, which they usually didn't. I usually had free reign. Mm-hmm. And so that was like every day. I was drawing Crash Bandicoot in class. Like I would just draw him over and over again. At one point, and this kept going like for years. Like I got the PlayStation when I was like 7 or 8, and then at that point, I think by the time we had gotten Crash Bandicoot 1, I think Crash Bandicoot 2 already came out. So I would because I think on the back of the disc for Crash Bandicoot 1, there was an ad for Crash Bandicoot 2.
That's cool.
And I was like,
so you didn't have to wait.
never even, no, but I did have to wait because my grandparents never bought it.
If you weren't a kid, you wouldn't.
They never bought it for me. So like it took years for me to get Crash Bandicoot 2. I think I don't know how I ended up getting it. I don't know if I saved up and bought it with money for like for my mom's PlayStation. Because so what happened is the PlayStation virus spread. So my grandparents had the PlayStation, and then my mom eventually got a PlayStation as well because she saw how cool it was, and she was like, "Oh, we got to get one of those too for home." Because my mom loved playing Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo and stuff like that, and my stepdad, he loved playing sports games. And the PlayStation was amazing for sports games.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're getting all of these like awesome 3D sports games. You had like NASCAR racing games. You had Tiger Woods Golf, which was actually really fun.
Yep.
You had Hot Shots Golf, which was even more fun than Tiger Woods Golf.
PGA Tour, another golf game.
I think that.
Didn't that turn
I think
into
it was
Tiger
Tiger
Woods?
Woods PGA Tour.
Oh,
I think it was the same thing.
Don't forget Madden.
Yeah, you had Madden. I don't know if he played Madden though. And interestingly enough, because we grew up. It was a football household. Like he loved football. I loved football.
Which Madden was it where it was just John Madden with like a headset on the cover?
I think that was like all of the first ones.
Yeah, there was, it was just him like looking really creepy.
And then they eventually decided to like put an actual football player on the screen.
Like, what do people watch football for? Oh, John Madden. Yeah, everyone knows him.
Yeah.
Put him in a studio. They love that.
They love it. Well, I mean, it's really him talking, It's crazy. Real voice acting.
It is pretty crazy. They could fit that on the disc. That was actually like a technical achievement.
Yeah, it was. You were using real voice samples. So the PlayStation virus had spread, and by that was when I was able to get Crash Bandicoot 2, and then so my grandparents never ended up buying a lot of PlayStation games. Most of my PlayStation gaming came from PlayStation Magazine.
Yeah.
There was the official PlayStation Magazine, which was probably one of the best video game magazines of all time. And back then, video game magazines were a big deal.
They were good.
And there were a lot of different ones, and they had different qualities. Some of them were really good, some of them were really
Remember
bad.
Edge?
Edge
It was printed on the thick ass paper.
Edge still exists, I think, actually. I think Edge Magazine actually still exists.
Yeah.
Edge was huge. That kind of came later on down the line.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones, though, was, what was it, Gaming Revolution, GRM or whatever? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah,
For a while.
yeah.
And they had awesome colors that were covers that were super colorful.
Yeah, what was that called?
And that was done by Ziff Davis, but I think before they got absorbed by whoever they got absorbed.
Everyone
with.
absorbed
And
everyone.
it was GRM or something, but they lasted for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite video game magazine ever. I
Yeah.
loved the writers in that and the style they used for everything.
Yeah.
But the PlayStation Magazine came with a demo disc every month, which was
Every single
unbelievably
month.
awesome.
Yeah.
It was so cool. So you'd get a demo disc and it would have all these demos for games. So I got to experience so many PlayStation games I never would have experienced otherwise, but I was so limited. I couldn't go I would play the demo and then that's it. And I would play those demos
God, that was
over
so tough.
and over
Yeah.
again.
I had that too. Not for PlayStation, but
Right.
for my console.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah,
yet,
I
but-
don't wanna spoil-
So I would play. There were certain demos I remember playing over and over again. There was Tiny. Was it Tiny Tank or something? That was one that I played over and over again. One of the biggest ones was Metal Gear Solid. That demo, the demo for Metal Gear Solid, was one of the
intro,
most
right?
amazing demos ever. Yeah, you could play all the way up until getting to Decoy Octopus, basically,
Really?
where the DARPA chief gets a heart attack and he dies.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Oh, I know. Sorry, DARPA chief fans, or I guess something like that.
Someone's got to be a fan, I guess. So you saw Meryl.
Yeah, you see Meryl.
You crawl through the ducts
Yep.
into the base.
Yep.
You see Meryl. You see
get into the DARPA
you
chief.
talk to the DARPA
and then
chief.
he gets that heart attack and dies, and then that's it. That's the demo, and it's like
Jesus
Metal Gear Solid. And you're like,
Christ.
this is the most amazing game I've ever seen.
Dude.
That was how I was introduced
Oh
to
my
Metal Gear
God.
Solid, and it took me probably a year or 2 years to be able to beat that demo. because I would try to play it and I would like it was so confusing at first because I was too young.
Yeah.
We talked about this in our previous episode where like there's like these mental barriers you break through where all of a sudden your problem solving skills reach a level where you're allowed to actually finish something.
I can't even imagine trying to get in that fucking vent when you're a kid.
Dude, yeah,
Like, it's a huge open area with all these boxes and all these distractions
and
everywhere.
there's guys with guns and you have no gun.
And the helicopter. And so like the tension is never gone. You can't just kill everyone and then you can explore. It's like,
but you can if you get good enough. And then eventually I figured it out.
I thought the helicopter could. I thought there was.
No,
I
the
thought
helicopter
like Solid
leaves.
was
The
there.
Hind D leaves.
Or Solidus or whatever.
No, the Hind D leaves.
Okay. So it is just those like two
it's
or three
just like
dudes.
3 or 4 dudes with machine guns.
Okay.
Pineapple guns or whatever they call them. I think like in that area or something. So I played that. I'm trying to think of like other demos that I was obsessed with. There was definitely certain demos that I just played over and over again.
Were there any RPG demos like Wild Arms?
Yeah, Final Fantasy VIII had a demo that I played over and over again, and that you got to like the first boss, I think, and then after that it was over.
Yeah.
And that game blew my mind. I loved that one. So once my mom got the PlayStation, that's when the PlayStation gaming really opened up for me, because then my mom actually had more games. So we had like those sports games. So I got really hooked on a lot of those sports games. And then,
Sorry.
Well, I mean, like when you have nothing to play, you like really stretch out. You're like, you're just like, oh man, like I can't play the games I want to play, but like there's all these games here, so I'm gonna play these, and I'm gonna still
like
love
that.
them anyways,
Oh, man.
even though they're not that good. But for the most part, they were good. Like the golf games were good. Hot Shots Golf was good. My stepdad had this game. It was a Top Gun game. There was like a legit Top Gun game that was actually pretty awesome. It was basically kind of like, what's
Ace
that?
Combat?
Yeah, it was like Ace Combat kind of, but it was like really cool because it was 3D. It looked sick. And then like I started getting to the point where I could borrow games from friends. Like I had some friends who had Final Fantasy games, and I borrowed Final Fantasy IX one summer, like when I was home, and like that game just was so good.
Is that the chibi one?
Kind of. I mean, they're kind of chibi-ish, but
Okay.
I don't know how to describe it. It's
8,
weird. It's like
7 was like kind of stylized. 8 was realistic.
Yeah.
And then 9 was like
9 went to
completely
like the
comic.
characters were very like they were short and like very cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like you had the soldier
heads.
dude like who was just like really big and like a big pile of armor, and then you had like the black mages were just straight up black mages. But then the two main characters, like the guy and the girl, were like little monkey people, almost like they had a tail.
Oh, that's the other thing.
Zidane
They went back to like the original Black Mages
Yeah.
with just like no face.
Yeah, which is cool. That game was really awesome. Like I had played Final Fantasy VIII, but whoever's disc I was borrowing was scratched on the second disc, so you couldn't get past this one cutscene. Did you ever have that happen? Because like in the Final Fantasy games, it would get to a cutscene and it would try to play it, and if the disc was scratched and it couldn't get past the cutscene, you couldn't skip the cutscene. So there was just no way to progress in the game. So if the disc got scratched, you were done for.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get past the second disc. And I think it was like this ballroom dancing cutscene too. And I kept trying to like clean the disc and replaying it, and never worked.
Yeah. Like resurfacing it.
Yeah, exactly.
You get a whole kit to
and then you
fucking
would
deal
like
with
read
your
up
discs.
about like, if you microwave it for like 30 seconds.
Oh, but put peanut butter on it first.
Yeah, toothpaste. Toothpaste is a big one. I actually tried toothpaste and it worked a couple times.
Because toothpaste actually like is abrasive enough that it gets a layer off.
Yeah, and so yeah, dude, that was just like those were just crazy days because like I had no game, so you're just stretching to get whatever you can get, and like that's how I played Metal Gear Solid, the full game too. The same friend who had the Final Fantasy VIII game had Metal Gear Solid, and I borrowed that from him for like a whole summer, and I just played that game, and that was one of the most revolutionary games I've ever played. Like the experience you get from that game when that first came out is just mind-blowing. I don't know if gamers will get that again because now games are so cinematic already.
Yeah.
It's not that
you can
special.
go back. It is special though. Like if you go back and play that game,
No,
it's
no,
special.
I'm saying that game is special, but I'm saying the experience you get now is not that special.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, sure, this game's like a movie. Wow, cool. But
because now it's like, oh, okay, Nathan Drake is never gonna die. There's nothing at stake.
well,
really.
I mean,
It's
he
like,
dies when you're playing him.
Yeah, right. Nathan,
Nate.
It's almost the same. Yeah, it's almost the same as the Metal Gear Solid ending.
It is because they die
Snake?
and it's like Nate,
Snake?
Nate.
Snake.
Dude, that experience is so stylish too.
It's
like,
horrifying.
yeah, it's
Everything about that coming into the hallway where Gray Ninja or Gray Fox or whatever just fucking destroys everyone.
Yeah.
That was terrifying.
That game has so many just awesome, like wall breaking moments. Moments.
Wall breaking moments.
Moments.
Yeah.
Little Game of Thrones reference for you there.
Oh yeah. Is that what you're going for?
And just like with the codex and everything, communicating with everyone, like you can radio any of your teammates at any time, and like they have like little things, little conversations they're gonna have with you.
Yeah.
And then like when you die, it's got that like dun 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 dun, dun and it's like snow snake. It's just like so intense, and it's like, damn, I really and like Snake's like
Yeah, he's
like
getting
he dies,
shot.
like and then but it's that reverbed out version where it delays, like
Yeah.
It's just like it's so
Man.
intense.
That reminds me of the Kingdom Hearts stuff. Whenever you die, it goes into slow. Or when you beat
Oh,
a boss or something,
Yeah,
it goes into slow-mo, and it's just like framing. Yeah. I love when
super
games
cool.
do that.
So, I mean, the PlayStation was just such a groundbreaking console, I think, for the industry. And then I think that's what makes it such a special console to be like almost like my formative years console, because you're growing up and like I would play games and I wouldn't really know how to get through them. Like I would play Metal Gear Solid and it's like, I don't understand anything they're saying. This is super confusing. But by the time I was 10 years old, when I played the full game in like 1999 or 2000 or whatever, I was able to absorb it all. And like, it was like, holy shit, this is insane. Like the production value, going up the elevator and the music's going, you're taking off all the gear and
so
the credits
good.
are rolling.
Yeah.
And it's like all the characters are talking. The voice acting is so cool. And the
That's
writing
one of
is
my
awesome.
favorite character introductions in anything ever.
Yeah.
Him coming up that elevator is so epic.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, like you play the game for like 30 minutes potentially. I mean, you can get up that elevator really quick.
Yeah.
But the first time you do it, you're really trying to figure it out.
Uh-huh.
And so you could be playing for like 20, 30 minutes before you see the credits roll. I mean, before you see the title screen.
Yeah.
And you never got that in a game before.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time that I feel like that has ever happened. So, I mean, if I had to pick out a couple of like what I would say are like the most formative games for me, and then I think they also like resonate on the industry in general. It's Crash Bandicoot, I think 1 through 3. And what's awesome is now they've recently released the Insane Trilogy, so you can go back and play these games and they look beautiful. They don't play as well. The physics are different, and that really bugs me. That makes them harder, apparently. So you got the Crash Bandicoot Trilogy. That was awesome. Spyro the Dragon, 1 through 3. Those were awesome 3D platformers. Final Fantasy, I would say 7 and 9 are the ones to play, not 8. It's cool, but I think people are gonna crucify me for this. But I just don't think it's as good as 7 or 9. I think 9 to me is still the best old school Final Fantasy game. I don't think anything tops it. The combat system and the characters are so good in that game.
Did you ever play 6?
I haven't played 6 because I have a hard time going back to the pixel art stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, now you have a harder time going back to the 3D stuff. But at the time, when you're playing a PlayStation and you're getting all these cool 3D games,
you're like, why
the last
fuck
thing
would
you
I
want to
ever
do
do
is
something
play something
2D?
that looks like a Super Nintendo game, you know? So that, Metal Gear Solid, you got to play that. That's an amazing
So
experience. I'm trying to think of other like really special PlayStation
There were so many good
games.
RPGs. Like,
Yeah, there were a ton of great RPGs.
Vagrant Story was really unique.
Final Fantasy Tactics was another really good one on
Yep.
original PlayStation.
The Lunar games, the Star Ocean games,
Yeah.
Fantasy. No. Wait, were there Fantasy Star games? No, there weren't.
No,
What am I
that was a
thinking
Sega
of?
thing at
I'm
that
trying
time
to think
still.
of Tales. There were a couple Tales games.
I don't
on
think they ever
PS1.
came out in America though.
I think they did because I had one, but it
Really? Was it in English?
Yeah, it was. It was like Tales of Destiny or something like that. It was really rare. The problem is all those games got super rare super fast.
Yeah. Well, because they were like, they were, I mean,
Valkyrie
JRPGs
Profile.
back then were like not really sold in America. So I think that's where I'm gonna end it for me because
All right.
that's just basically it. Like the PlayStation 1, that console is just so awesome, so
Yeah.
perfect for me. Like
Yeah.
the games that were on that system and the way that they were really pushing like cinematics in games was just amazing. Like that's where you got like Medal of Honor on PlayStation 1, which like that game I feel like was the first console first person shooter, really. Like the first
Playing an
legit
FPS with one analog stick. Oh, that was fun.
yeah, you had Medal of Honor. Like there was a game The Lost World, Jurassic Park: The Lost World, which was like I think the first game to use a live orchestrated score in a video game.
Really?
Yeah. And what's awesome about that game is the way they did it is because they were using CD technology. They would load the level, and then they actually just used the CD playback functionality of the PlayStation.
And just
so they
kept
were spinning the
disc.
disc the whole time and just playing the soundtrack. So they weren't using actually any memory or any RAM. They were just playing the CD.
That's smart.
On that soundtrack, and that was oh shoot, why am I blanking on this guy's name now? The composer who did the last Star Wars movie, Rogue Squadron or
Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah. And he did Lost, and he's done like so many movies. I'm gonna have to look at this right now because I'm gonna go crazy. It's Rogue One composer. That's just because that's going to be the easiest to find it. Giacchino, Michael Giacchino. He started out working on video games. His first music score was that game. And now he's like probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest Hollywood composer right now. He's doing everything. He does all of J.J. Abrams stuff.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, ever since Lost. Like him and J.J. were friends.
Including Star Trek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's nuts.
I'm on board.
So, I mean, it's just really cool. It's like that started on the PlayStation 1. Like, that's where you got to start.
Yeah.
So
Just like you.
Just like me. So, anyways, Sean, what's your console, bro?
Yeah, so my formative console is actually it fits in right after the PlayStation because it's the GameCube.
Whoa!
Yeah, which I feel like a lot of people kind of skipped over that one.
Well, it didn't do very well.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say like it sold like 20 million units or something.
I think it was more like 13
GameCube lifetime
or like
sales.
16 or 19 or something.
Let's find out.
I thought it was in the teens.
21 million.
Okay.
21.74. So we'll give them 22 mil.
Yeah. Xbox sold 24. Wow. Okay.
Not that much better than the GameCube.
Yeah. So yeah, the PS2 just blew everyone out of the water that generation.
Yeah,
and
they
at
were
that
coming
time-
on hot right straight off like PlayStation 1 being
Yeah,
such
they had
a huge
success. N64 was kind of not not quite as successful as the PS1.
No, actually, which I mean, like that was the trend, right? Nintendo, I think the NES was the best-selling console, and then SNES was a little bit lower than that, and 64 is a little bit lower than that.
Yeah.
Then GameCube went down, and then Wii shot them right back up.
Yeah.
Let's see
Yeah,
what
what
the
did the N64 sell?
lifetime sales in the N64 were.
5.54 million? What? That
Let's
can't be right.
see. This is hard. They're not giving us an easy.
We'll move on. So the GameCube.
I'll find the number while you talk.
I was not allowed to have video games when I was a kid, as you might have heard in our first side quest episode that we called a bonus episode. And so
32 million and
oh,
64.
okay. That's more than the GameCube.
Yeah.
So I kind of begged my parents for years to let me get a console. And I kept lowering my expectations and increasing the amount of effort on my part to get the console. Like, all right, I'll buy it. I'll buy it myself with my
Right,
own
you're like doing
money.
everything you can to like try and squeeze this
Yeah, and
yes
then, like,
out of your parents.
I'm
like,
I'll buy my own TV.
don't have to do
so
anything.
you don't have to like not watch TV when I'm playing.
God, I'll take a taxi to the store.
I'll do all my chores better.
Like, yeah.
I'll do even more chores.
Yeah,
even
give
though
me
I'm
more
already
chores.
working
Give me
on a
more.
farm,
I'll do
basically.
more.
I'll do whatever it takes. So after years,
You want me out on the streets?
Literal
I'll get out on the
years of
streets. I'll
this.
work the corner. You want
I
me on
will
the
work
corner?
I did work the corner.
Give me that GameCube.
Yeah, it was worth it. I think it actually took years for me to convince them, and it was my dad. My mom was fine, but my dad didn't want that shit in the house.
Yeah.
We had like very strict TV
Dad
and
just didn't
computer
understand,
time restrictions. So when it finally happened, what we agreed on was I was allowed the console was on sale. I think this was after it had been out for maybe 2 years, and it was down to $150, which my dad obviously thought was way too much still. But
Yeah, the GameCube started out cheap.
it started out cheaper than the others, and then it dropped quickly because it was floundering like that.
Yeah.
But my dad finally gave in and said, fine, you can buy it, and you can buy a 13-inch TV, which was another, like, probably $80 or whatever.
Yeah, dude, I remember when I got my first 13-inch color TV.
13
It
why did
was
they decide on
amazing.
13?
I don't know. It's
Man,
so weird.
I love that thing, though. It was
Me
so
too.
shitty. And the whine
But it was color.
of a CRT
Oh,
TV.
it was color, though. Because I mean, one of the things I was playing my PlayStation on was a
Yeah, the little
5-inch
5-inch
black and white TV.
Like, why did they ever
and
even
it
make
duct
that?
taped to my bed.
Yeah.
And like I was playing Legend of Dragoon. That was another big one.
Yeah, that
on
was the big one
PlayStation.
that you were obsessed with that game.
That game was so
and it was
cool.
great because it had like QuickTime events in battle.
Yeah, it was
which just
really
kept
cool.
you engaged
That's
for the
one of the-
hundreds of hours
I
of
think
random
that's one of the
battles.
most popular PlayStation franchises that has never gotten a sequel.
Yeah.
So, anyways, go on. You got your TV.
So I got my TV, I got my GameCube, but there were snags. My dad kind of went back on his word. Like I got it, and he's like, or we got to Toys R Us because Toys R Us had this deal where you got the console and a game of your choice. You could choose from Metroid Prime, Wind Waker, and Star Fox Adventure. You got those two for $150. So we went there, and I was about to buy it, and my dad was like, "Oh, it's $150." Well, I didn't know it was that much. I don't think you should be spending that much on it. And I was like, "Fucking shit, Dad."
Did you already tell them that though?
Yes,
or did you?
I
Or is
did.
that one of those things where you're trying to not tell them how expensive it is?
No, I'm pretty sure I told him straight up, and then he just like completely didn't care. And then, so we're in the checkout line, and he's about to talk me out of it. But at that point, I had so much momentum because I'd been talking about this
I mean,
for
you're
6
in
months.
the checkout line. You
saving
can't
up
walk out
money.
of the checkout line and you look like a fucking psycho.
So I got a black GameCube, which is the sweetest color.
That is the cool one. The purple one was so dumb.
It was dumb, but it's kind of endearing. It's like that is the classic one that they showed in all the commercials and everything. So I got the black GameCube, and I had such a hard time choosing games. They were out of Wind Waker. That was my number one choice because
Wait,
I'd played Link to the
Wind
Past.
Waker was already out at this point?
Yep.
How late in the
It was like
GameCube
2 years into
cycle
the
did you
GameCube.
get this?
Way late. When they dropped the price, they were slashing it. And it was
Damn.
coming with 3 games. Like, they don't do that until like
Wait, so you could actually pick 3 games?
free games.
Oh,
One
okay.
free
Okay, you
game.
picked one free game.
So you pick
Okay.
one. But that was such a tough decision because Wind Waker, Zelda, it's going to be amazing. And oh my God, I was looking
What's
at
tough
reviews
about that
for
is when you
weeks.
go to the store and you know that's the one you're going to get.
And then you see
but
the
then
other
they
ones.
don't then they don't have it, right? Because you wanted
yeah.
Wind Waker, so they don't have it. So now you have to change your whole schema.
Oh, but I was getting it.
And you're like, you don't care. Like you're going
There's
to
no way I'm not walking
even if
out
they
with
have
something.
even if it's like the shittiest game that
Yeah.
exists, you're walking out here
Oh,
with
I
that
forgot.
GameCube.
No, it actually came with 2 free games. It came with the game of your choice and a Superman game. And the Superman game was a piece of shit.
Oh, God.
It was so fucking bad, but I played it so much because I had no other choice.
You mastered the fuck out of that
Yeah.
Superman game. You were Superman.
So I got the GameCube. I don't even know where I got the TV, honestly.
Did you get it at the same
Toys
time?
R Us. It couldn't have been because Toys R Us doesn't sell TVs. So we must have gone next door to like Walmart or something.
Yeah.
And I got some shitty TV. Had this stuff. My dad the whole time is trying to like set all these rules about the amount of time I can play, the kinds of games I can play, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. But what I settled on was Metroid Prime. And it was such a tough
Oh wait, that was
decision.
one of the games you could get for free?
Yep.
Oh, dude.
Yep.
Baller.
And the reason this is one of my most formative moments is because Metroid Prime is the greatest game ever conceived by man to this day.
But what about women?
Women don't conceive games, they conceive children.
That is a risky thing to say. But it's
No.
a joke, everybody.
Plenty of
it's
men
a joke.
and women probably worked on that game. I don't know who worked on it.
Hey, here's what I'm going to say. It takes a man and a woman to conceive anything. So,
Sure.
think
yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
Men cannot conceive on their own.
it's true. It's true.
If they could, this world would be fucking
Do you
overridden.
think?
with-
Yeah. Do you think women could though, given enough time?
I think they'd figure it out.
Yeah.
If women could cut us out of the picture entirely, it'd happen.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we're still holding on.
Just hanging on.
Please, you need us. We'll support you.
So aside from all of that, like line walking of sexism, there,
Yeah.
I had the GameCube.
Maybe dashing over it a little bit.
I had the GameCube. I had my Metroid Prime. I'd left behind Star Fox Adventure, which was a fucking stunning game. It was so gorgeous. Everything about that game was beautiful, and to the point where like,
Is that Star Fox Adventure?
Yeah, Fox would get out of the water and his
People hate
fur
that
would
game,
have droplets on it. No, it was good. It was not amazing.
People, I think, hate it because it wasn't like a real Star Fox.
It was
because it was
graphically
It was like what
sweet.
Dino Hunter or whatever. It was supposed to be. It was originally some dinosaur game.
There were dinosaurs in it.
Yeah, I know because they turned it into a Star Fox game. Like notoriously, like they turned Mario 2
so it
into Mario.
wasn't-
It wasn't a Star Fox game. It was
okay.
like it was some like Zelda-ish
And they're like, no one's gonna
game with
fucking buy
dinosaurs.
this.
Yeah, and so they put Star Fox in it because they hadn't put a Star Fox game
Yeah.
out in a while.
All right.
And so that's how it turned into Star Fox Adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty hilarious if you think
didn't
about it.
know
Because
that.
if you look at it, then you're like, wait a second, yeah, this doesn't really make any sense. It seems like the Star Fox stuff is kind of just added in here for no reason.
Yeah. So
People did like it, but I think people also didn't like it because it wasn't the Star Fox game they wanted.
I'm trying to think of what Metroid games I'd played before that. I think I played the Game Boy Advance Metroid Fusion before that.
That didn't come out before Prime though.
It did because Prime actually, you could unlock the Fusion suit
Oh, did they come out around the
in
same
Metroid
time?
Prime. Yeah, so, and dude, I was getting this so fucking late. Metroid Prime was probably out for like a year
That's
or more.
true. That's true. So November 17th, 2002 is when Metroid Fusion came out.
Yeah.
And
So I'd never
Prime
played
had to
Super
have been around
Metroid.
that same time.
I'd played a little bit of Metroid, the original, and then I
Oh,
played
the exact same day.
really? Okay.
Yeah, November 17th, 2002.
So I
Metroid Prime
probably-
and Fusion came out the same day. Dude, what a good
Both
day for
amazing
games.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Both some of the best.
Can we
one
get another
great 2D
Metroid
game, one
day
great
like
3D
that
game.
again? Give us like an
Please.
awesome 3D and 2D Metroid at the same
Please.
time.
Well, they are, but not at the same time.
Yeah.
So I had Metroid. I knew the deal. Like one of the coolest things about Metroid is that in that era, everything was about like Tomb Raider. Oh, it's a chick with giant boobs. You know, games were not in
Check
a good
out these
place.
polygons.
Yeah, and even Metroid. So Metroid had one of the strongest female characters, but I'm putting that in scare quotes because at the end of the game, you fucking take off her suit. You take more of her suit off based on what percentage of the game you've completed.
Yeah, I know.
So if
I
you
love
get
that. I love
100%,
that.
she's basically just like down to her skivvies.
Yeah, but dude, that was so hot on the NES. Oh my god! But then there was a code you could put in to just do it without beating the game like that.
Yeah.
So you could get her. You could get the. I call it Zero Suit Samus, but it's not really because I don't. Did they
It
call it
is.
Zero Suit Samus back
The
then
blue
though?
suit?
Yeah, like when she's just in her blue like
Yeah, I think
tight
I
skin
think it
suit
always
thing.
was. Yeah. But so
She's got zero coverage, baby.
zero coverage, zero suit, not very protected from all those aliens. So
But she don't need protection. That's how badass she is.
that's true. She's got those phase-on blasters.
Shooting them up, shooting up those alien bats.
Heat vision.
Fucking Skeeter bats coming
I
at
take the
ya.
GameCube home. I set it up. I got my dresser with my there's a blanket under my TV and the GameCube next to it.
Right.
And instantly start playing Metroid Prime.
Oh,
And
that
I
was the
play-
first thing you picked.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna play fucking Superman. I was reading reviews for my whole life.
Yeah.
And I knew how good Metroid Prime was supposed to be. I knew how shitty Superman was supposed to be. So I started playing Metroid Prime.
I feel like I vaguely remember playing the Superman game over at your house.
it was so bad. It was so bad. The
Yeah.
only cool
'Cause
thing
I remember,
about it was you could
me
fly.
being like, "Oh, I want to play that Superman game," and you're like, "This game sucks. Like, you do not want to play it." Like, no, let's just try it out.
Yeah.
And then I probably learned really quickly.
It was
that. I like,
functional.
I don't want to play it.
It was functional. It just wasn't fun.
Yeah.
It was well put together, poorly conceived.
These Superman game makers must have like the best intentions, but like you're starting out like with the biggest fucking handicap and making a terrible game of all time.
Well, they
It's
have
like,
no time
let's
to
take
make
a guy
it.
who's invincible,
Yeah.
and try and make a game fun out of that.
Uh-huh. There's nothing beyond that. It's like
And also the technology. Like
I guess
to-
the power of flight is really interesting. You can
it
do
is
a lot with that.
Everyone wants to do it, but I mean back then, like think about how hard it is to make that right.
You could fly in that game, and it was pretty sweet.
Okay.
But the problem is you were flying to nothing. Like you would touch down, and suddenly you're just beating a guy for like 15 minutes
Yeah.
to kill him, and then you fly again. It was stupid. So Metroid Prime was, oh my god. Even the menu, just hearing that menu music sparks this like deep memory for me. That and in this one, it's got all the crazy like electronic shit going. And it's so awesome. And then you get in there and you're on the space station. Shit's going crazy. It's kind of the same as every Metroid game where you're on the space station, shit's blowing up. You have
Right.
all your powers. So
Right.
you're grapple hooking around. In this one,
oh, you had a
Ridley-
grapple hook in that game?
Yeah.
Cool.
Dude, you had there was screw attack in this game,
All right.
which you'd never think would
Screw
work
attack,
in first
one of my
person.
favorite attacks. All right.
So you're grappling around. Hey, good one, Brad. Grappling around. You see Ridley flying by, the fucking pterodactyl guy.
And he looked cool in that game
Oh,
too.
he was so cool. And you're fighting him actually, and then he's kind of just tearing the shit apart. The space station's going down, and you eject yourself.
Hold up, real quick. How do they explain that you fight the same monsters in every game?
They don't.
They don't explain it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
I just thought
sure
about
they
that
do.
now. I'm like, wait a second. Pretty sure these same guys keep showing up. Like,
If
wait,
any-
why are they back
Well,
again?
no, only Ridley in this one because there's no
No,
Kraid.
because Kraid wasn't in.
Oh, but you do fight Mother Brain.
Yeah, you fight Mother Brain over and
No,
over
no,
again.
no, you don't. You don't fight Mother Brain in this
Well, what
game.
about Metroid? You keep fighting Metroid over and
You
over
fight
again.
Metroid Prime, which is a new Metroid. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
a fucking giant, swole,
Yeah, he's just
steroid.
jacked.
Yeah.
So he's like the
Coming at you with
Russian
8
from Rocky
legs.
4.
Exactly. It's that guy.
He's just
He
training on the
plays
treadmill
Metroid
all the
Prime.
time, flipping it over. Like,
That's
fuck
how you-
this treadmill. I don't need this. I'm Metroid Prime.
That's how you get jacked. You train on the treadmill. So,
Well, yeah, but you train with those like little pads all over, so it looks like you're super scientific.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
The electrodes.
Yeah.
Just getting shocked.
Exactly, the whole time, shocking your muscles.
Yeah. So everything about this game just spoke to me.
Uh-huh.
It's sci-fi. I love sci-fi.
I love sci-fi.
I love the feeling of just being like alone.
Yes. Except
I love
for
how
you hate
desolate-
being alone.
No, in real life I hate
Real
being
life,
alone.
you hate being alone.
But I love that feeling in movies and stuff, and I think that's why. I think in real life, like I'm usually super happy, and there are people around, and it's just different.
Yeah.
But then I love seeing really depressing movies like The Road or
Oh, yeah.
like the feeling you get in Shadow of the Colossus, where everything is desolate.
Mm-hmm.
Humanity has basically died off. You don't know what the fuck is going on. You don't know if you're gonna survive. I love that shit.
Tell me more about what you like about Metroid Prime.
So
You like that it's a strong woman main lead?
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Okay.
And when you like they did so many, the attention to detail in this game was staggering. Even today, games don't have as good attention to detail as this one did. Like you look up and the raindrops would fall on your helmet. And the
Dude, I
second that
remember you
happened,
showing me
everyone
that.
stole
You were
it.
like, you gotta check this out.
Dude, it was so awesome.
It was super cool.
You would walk under a steam vent and your visor would condense.
Yeah.
You'd go into Magmore Caverns and your visor would fog up and you couldn't see shit.
So I was thinking about something like literally just yesterday. I was thinking about this when I was riding bike. I don't know why, but I was thinking about Metroid and I was thinking about Samus and I was thinking when she like one of the first powers that Samus always gets is she can somehow fucking shrink her
Crunch herself
body
into a
down
ball.
into a ball shape. And I'm wondering what is happening to her physical form in this. Do they ever try to explain that? Because I'm just
No.
thinking, is she literally painfully crunching down into nothing and then like what is happening there?
I don't think
never
they even bother.
explain
I
that.
think that's just one of the things they leave as gamey as possible.
And yeah, and we're all just like, yeah, it's totally cool. She just turned into a ball.
well,
But then she's back.
and that's the kind of thing that Nintendo knows how to do. They know they know what needs to be realistic to suspend your disbelief, and then when they can just fucking throw it out the window and it's a game. You're a ball that has bombs suddenly, like endless bombs. So the game was just a masterpiece. Like you charge up a shot and fire it against the wall, and you can see your own reflection in the visor, and you see this
That was
woman's
cool.
eyes.
That was
And
super
for people
cool.
who hadn't played Metroid before, like you don't know that Samus is a female. That's kind of one of the biggest twists in the series. So it's just cool to see that like little bit of foreshadowing. The map in this game was revolutionary. It was a 3D map that you could kind of navigate in the pause screen. The areas were all connected. It was kind of open world, and the way they hid loading was the same way they hid it in Metroid and Super Metroid. When you shoot a door, the game loads.
Oh
the
yeah, and
next
that's
area.
really cool.
So-
well, in original Metroid, I don't think they were like doing that with the original Metroid. Like as far as like
In Super Metroid, they were.
yeah, because in original Metroid, like the
just
game
walk to the
basically
edge of the screen.
paused, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
like
yeah.
the screen shifted over.
Yeah,
or
they just
whatever.
loaded one screen at a time. But in this game, you would shoot a door, and sometimes it would take a little.
Yeah.
Like the door would kind of just not open for 5 seconds, and
Yeah.
then you'd go through.
That's
But
really smart. I love that kind of stuff with games. Like that's the
It's
thing you don't really
ingenious.
think about. Like when you like if you're just playing a game, you didn't really know that back then. But when you make games, then you're starting to then you start realizing, oh shit, like there's a lot of really smart ways to hide loading in games. And one of
Yeah.
the games I was talking about earlier, Crash Bandicoot. What's fascinating about that game is if you read like the original tech blogs from one of the original directors of Naughty Dog Studios, one of the programmers, I forget his name off the top of my head. But
Neil
they,
Druckmann.
No, not him.
He was a programmer.
But I don't think he was working at Naughty Dog back then.
I think he
It
worked
was
on
like
Jack.
originally like a couple people, and this was like the original like super smart mastermind behind
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot because what they like that game was pushing the PlayStation in a way no one could do. And one of the things they were doing was literally anything that was hidden behind another object, like that was in your foreground, any polygons behind that were unloaded.
Yeah.
So like Crash, if he was in front of you in the screen and there was like a plant or something back here behind him, it was just not loaded. And they were doing that. They were constantly swapping things loading on the fly,
Yeah.
just so they could show you as much
Give you
like
more
density
polygons.
as they could.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's
I love that
crazy.
stuff.
Yeah, there's so much of that trickery in games. So Metroid Prime, I could go on and on and on about Metroid, but just know if you haven't played it, it is a unique game, and I don't think there'll ever be anything like it. The feeling that they capture and the feeling
Yeah.
of desolation,
You
the
don't
feeling, the different enemy types, like the feeling that you are in the, like you are just surviving and you got to get out and you got to pick yourself up by the boots and just make it happen is so fucking cool. And then the game has such a good arc too, because you're constantly finding new areas, fighting new enemies, getting new guns, you get like an X-ray visor, you get like a phase-on visor. And you're constantly, I mean, you know the term Metroidvania, like
Yeah.
you're Metroidvania.
Well, I mean, if you don't know the term Metroidvania, Metroidvania basically refers to two games, Metroid and Castlevania. And like the trend with these games back in the day was that they were like an exploration adventure game in which you would need to beat a certain enemy or acquire a certain object that would level you up or power you up, so you would get a new ability that allows you to go to other places in the world, in
Yeah.
the map. So like basically for Metroid, the first thing you do is you go left and you get your ball ability,
Yeah,
and then that allows you
Morph
to
Ball.
go through smaller passages. And then like Castlevania, same thing, like you'll get certain abilities that will allow you could dash or jump further or jump higher, and then you can get to new areas in the map that they're not like blocking them by like saying you can't go there. It's just you'll see it and you just don't know how to get up there. And then
Yeah.
eventually you get the ability that'll get you there. So they've kind of combined Metroidvania into this one term.
It's such
for
a
games
cool
like that.
it's a cool feeling because you see the world, you see what you can't have, and then when you power up, you think in the back of
Oh
your
my
mind it's
God,
still
I
there.
can
You're like,
go-
fuck,
I can go up
there was
there.
that door. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you just kind of store everything. And they're really good at balancing the amount of information they give you so that you remember.
Uh-huh.
And it's not like information overload and you're not just missing everything.
Yeah.
And the way they hide objects in Metroid is also really
Yeah, there will be
amazing.
walls that are literally like they don't look any different than other walls, and you just shoot it and it breaks away.
And in the same way that Zelda took the leap to 3D and went from masterpiece to completely different type of masterpiece, Metroid did the same thing.
Now-
Metroid, like everything translated so elegantly to this game. Retro Studios, that was a time and place. Like Retro Studios pulled that off because they had the right team and they had the right vision.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone will ever do it again. Like Metroid Prime 4 is coming out and it's going to take another they can't try and copy this.
Yeah.
They've got to move forward.
They gotta
and
innovate.
need people who are innovating and who have their own strong vision and their love for the franchise and want to push it forward. Otherwise it's just going to be stale.
Well, yeah, because I mean, what happened with Metroid Prime 2 and 3? Like those games are not considered as good as Metroid Prime, the first one.
Nothing is good
The
as
second
good
one
as
I heard
Metroid
is like
Prime.
impossibly hard. Like I know there are people who just
not that
couldn't
hard.
beat it.
Really?
Yeah, like it's notoriously insanely hard.
Hmm.
And then 3, I'm just not sure what happened with that game.
3 they
I guess
added
was it on Wii? Is
they
that
added a
what
bunch
happened?
of aliens with dialogue that you talk to, so it kind of turned into a completely different type of game. Like you're not supposed to be walking around talking
That's
to
kind of how I
aliens.
felt about like Dead Space 1 to Dead Space 2, where
Yeah.
like as soon as they made Isaac talk, it was like, oh, this takes away from that desolate feeling that you were talking
Yeah,
about. Where
yeah.
there's something special to be said about that, where it's just kind of like it's silent. You know?
Yeah. So I could do 10 podcasts on Metroid Prime, but
Yo,
this is about GameCube.
Yeah, give us some more GameCube
So
experiences.
the
real
cool
quick.
thing about GameCube is it was very much a toy. It was a square, well, it was a cube with a handle.
Yeah.
The discs were tiny. The thing
Yeah,
like
that was
lit
such a
up.
novelty thing. Like, I don't know why Nintendo handicapped themselves like that.
I don't
Like,
know, man.
Hey, let's take a disc and make it half the size so you can fit half the stuff on it. Like, I think
Well,
some GameCube games required like 4 discs.
It was
right?
probably like they didn't want to pay for the proprietary shit, like CD technology or
Well,
DVD,
DVD.
technology or whatever. Like they probably just didn't want to play the game.
I
'cause
guess
they don't.
so.
But,
They
like,
don't.
it's
Yeah, they
Nintendo.
always do their own thing.
And it worked out. There were a few games that were 2 discs, but generally everything would fit on one.
I think there was like some games that were 4 discs, right? On GameCube, there were like some RPGs or something.
I think it only ever went up to 2. Because Tales of Symphonia was 2.
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid was actually 2. I think Resident Evil 4 was 2, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was too.
So some other games that, oh my God, Resident Evil 4. I actually forgot about that game until now. But some other games that the GameCube had that were just mind-blowing. Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4 was so awesome. That
best-
was the best exclusive, I feel like.
It was the best
Third-party
Resident Evil
exclusive.
game for me because I actually didn't play the first 2, but they had tank controls that aren't intuitive. This game is intuitive, and this game felt amazing and was so tense, and the enemies were just horrifying.
Yeah.
That was my first time playing Metal Gear Solid, because I played Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes.
Twin Snakes. That
which
was
is a
such
remake of 1.
That's an awesome remake.
It's
so good.
The cutscenes are just amazing. It was the first time they did cinematic cutscenes.
They took the cutscenes and put them in a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like when you see Gray Fox like wreck people, he is like obliterating. It's like
and when
there's
Snake like
flipping and
flips
spinning
over the
and like
thing in the gunfight with Revolver Ocelot.
yeah, the action scenes are so much cooler. I love it.
It's so good.
They broke the game in a way though, because you can play in first person, and it's like the game wasn't originally designed with that in mind, so it actually made it way easier to play.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I mean, you just get through the story a bit faster. But
Well, and it's different. Like going back to 1, that gameplay is not better or worse. It's just completely different. And
yeah,
that's cool.
no, because
like,
it is a
up.
top-down game. Like it's 3D, but it's top-down. So it's like, and it's very hard to see where enemies are, and you can't get like one-shot kills like you can in Twin Snakes, because in Twin Snakes you can shoot people in the head.
Yeah.
In this game, it's just like, nope, the weapons have as many, like, it's the same amount of shots to kill a guy no matter what. Or
The
put him
sniper
to
rifle,
sleep.
though, you could actually aim,
Yeah, you could.
which was weird.
And it was hard to do.
Yeah. But
You
that
had to
game,
be on drugs the whole time.
of course, yeah.
Diazepam.
Diazepam and Pentazemin or whatever. I remember I took that game to the beach. I took my whole GameCube to the beach, and we'd go out and be on the beach all day, and I would surf and stuff, and then we'd come in, and I would play just late into the night, and I was freaking myself out. Because when you're
With Resident Evil?
No, with Metal Gear Solid.
Oh.
Because when it's late at night and you're in those hallways just like creeping through vents and shit,
Yeah.
and there are dudes everywhere, and like
It's intense.
what's Vulcan Raven? Is it Vulcan Raven?
Well, Vulcan Raven is the first boss.
Yeah.
He's the guy with the minigun.
Like when you fight him in that refrigeration area.
Yeah.
That's so fucking tense.
Well, and also the first time when you go in there in the Twin Snakes remake, I think it's the Twin Snakes remake, right? Or is it Metal Gear Solid 2? Oh, it's Metal Gear Solid 2
Where
where
you
there's
see
the
Metal Gear,
shadow.
the shadow, yeah.
Yeah, there's a shadow of
Yeah,
Vulcan
that's two.
Raven. Like that was hilarious.
That game was just a masterpiece, and I actually kind of want to play it again because
I would love it, dude. If I could,
games have gone so far, and they just aren't going to go.
I would pay
back to that.
$60 for Metal Gear Solid 1 remake on PS4.
Oh yeah.
Like a full remake, like with the
No,
way
if-
that they when you go back to
If it was just
Shadow
Twin Snakes
Moses.
in 4,
Yeah.
yeah,
That would be so good.
that was really cool.
Dude, some of the stuff, like for me to jump in real quick, that I really liked about GameCube too. GameCube got all of the third-party Star Wars games for some reason. You got
No.
Rogue Squadron.
It only got like
Knight.
a couple of them.
Yeah, but I mean, like those
Jedi
didn't come
Knight?
to other consoles. Yeah, Jedi Knight.
You didn't
got
get
the-
Jedi Knight.
Yes, you did.
Nope, it was only on Xbox.
No, I guarantee you. It's
Jedi
on
Academy,
GameCube.
Jedi Knight,
Not Jedi Academy.
3.
Jedi Knight 2 was on.
Jedi
GameCube.
Knight 2 was.
Yeah.
But Jedi Knight 3 wasn't.
No, but I mean, I'm saying like that didn't come to PlayStation.
No,
So-
but that was the best one because Jedi Knight 2 was kind of like
No, Jedi Knight 2 was the best
flawed.
one in my opinion. But I don't know.
No, because half that game was a first-person
And then the
shooter.
Rogue Squadron
a
games.
shitty first-person
Rogue
shooter.
Squadron games were GameCube.
Yeah,
exclusive
those
for some
were
reason.
exclusive.
And
Those were cool. They were
awesome.
mind-blowing because those were actually technically they were really impressive because that was some of the first games that you on the GameCube or PS2 that used bump mapping and normal mapping.
Right.
So you saw an asteroid and it actually had like little crenellations and the light affected them and you saw like shadows on textures and stuff and that just took it to another level. And that's stuff the Xbox was doing.
Uh-huh.
But for us, like we just didn't have access to that. Like
No,
everything that got ported down to GameCube and PS2 was just boiled.
Yeah, I was a
the
PlayStation 2
basics.
guy, and like, yeah, that was like, that was the weakest of the three. So,
Yeah. And back then I was so obsessed with graphics.
dude, you were always
Everyone was.
reading
You
about
were
that shit.
too.
Well, I mean, I liked things that looked good, but I mean, I wasn't like I did not know technically about anything. I didn't know what textures were. I didn't know what any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of that later on down the line, thanks to you, actually, because you were so fucking nerdy about it.
But I remember having the GameCube was an interesting experience because I had Metroid, I had Zelda Wind Waker, I had Resident Evil 4, I had Tales of Symphonia, I had all these fucking awesome games, but I just counted 5 on one hand, and that's probably about it. Like that's the GameCube just got first party games. It got
Yeah.
a couple third party gems,
Yeah,
and then
really good
beyond that,
ones.
you were starved.
Uh-huh.
And so I kept looking over at you.
Eternal Shadows,
Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness. That was
I
a
never
good one.
played that.
Yeah.
I kept looking over at you with your PS2, and you had fucking Kingdom Hearts, Kingdom
Oh my
Hearts 2,
God.
Final Fantasy 10,
The sequel to
Final
Metal Gear
Fantasy
Solid.
12, yeah, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3.
Yeah.
What else? Like all these crazy RPGs
Dragon
coming out
Quest.
nonstop.
8 was amazing
Yeah.
on there.
What was the
God of War.
Oh, fucking God of War.
Yeah.
So yeah, by the time Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto. That was a big one. Maybe the biggest.
Oh, wait, GameCube had Time Splitters though.
It
'Cause
did have Time Splitters.
I had Time Splitters
but so
too.
did PS2.
It did.
But it was better on GameCube.
Yeah, and I remember that I discovered that game, and that game was kind of just endless fun.
Oh my God.
Because it had like bot.
It had so
multiplayer.
many modes. It had
Dude,
so
we
many
played
modes and
so
so
much
many
of that.
unlockable characters and weapons
That was
and
such
maps.
a fun game. You
That
remember
was-
the Western map?
Kind of, yeah. Well, yeah,
There's like
I definitely remember.
there are like
that.
the two little houses in that courtyard area, and then you go up the ramps and shit to
Yep.
get to the top and snipe each other.
Yeah, I mean, I have it on PlayStation 2, actually. The
3?
What,
The
Time
third game, the
Splitters.
third game.
I think it's
Future
Time Splitters
Perfect.
2. Or maybe it's 3. Maybe it's
I thought
3.
it was Future Perfect because that's the one where you can play that game where you're like a cat on wheels. There are so many
Dude,
random ass
there are
game
so many,
modes.
and you could there's one mode. Do you remember the mode where it was all monkeys? You have to fight against all monkeys and then all gingerbread
Oh, yeah,
men?
you're just fighting them off.
And they're so
the
hard.
gingerbread men are tanky.
Yes. Oh my God, that game was so awesome.
Yeah, so it always felt like I didn't have enough games because I was really stretching. Like for JRPGs, you had Bait and Katos, which was
I remember
really
that
interesting.
kind of, but I never played it. I
they
don't know
took
anything
the
about
old
it.
school like pre-rendered background JRPG and put it on GameCube.
That wasn't even old school at that point. I mean, that was still
I mean, it
like that was
previous
still kind
gen,
of the
though.
standard.
Like there were a lot of games that were moving on from it though, and
Yeah.
they just did it in such a beautiful way. It was a beautiful game, but it was kind of like it just didn't come together
Yeah.
super well for me. Like the soundtrack and everything. Just
you had
didn't- I
here's
didn't
another
like
big
it.
one that you had Tales of Symphonia.
Yeah,
You loved that one.
and that was 2 discs, and that one was also multiplayer. You could jump in. And
Yeah, that was awesome.
You could do. I don't know if you could do up to 4 players, but we always did.
I
two.
think apparently like if not every Tales game, like most of them have had that.
Yeah, which is
is
so
cool.
cool.
It's great to just add the ability to have someone else jump into your game.
Yeah, yeah. I never played Super Mario Sunshine. Definitely had Mario Kart. But the GameCube was, even now, that collection of like 10 GameCube games.
Smash Bros. Melee. Gotta throw that in there. That is the best Smash Brothers game, hands down.
Yeah, and I wasn't into Smash Bros. I just
Which is so
never
weird.
got into it.
Love
Yeah.
that game.
Like you whittle it down to the top 10 on GameCube, and it is such a fucking strong console.
It's an elite list.
But
yeah.
then after that, you're kind
Yeah.
of scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, it goes away really quick.
And man, PS4 has the same thing going on. Like top 10 on PS4 is amazing, and PS3.
But I don't think it drops off that quick though. Like the PS4 has,
PS4?
yeah, the PS4 has
Oh yeah,
so
certainly.
many great games.
No. But I'm saying the PS4, like GameCube had so many perfect games.
Right.
Resident Evil 4 is
That's been
it's a
Nintendo's problem
masterpiece.
for a while now.
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo 64 was the same way. The amount of games that came out on N64 versus PlayStation, it's a huge difference. I think like
Yep.
thousands of games launched on PlayStation and only hundreds launched on N64.
And it's an interesting problem. Like they have the cream of the crop. They have the devs who can make
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
perfect games, but they don't have the relationships around the industry to build steam and get everyone to play those games when really they deserve it. Oh man, Paper Mario was on GameCube. There were so many good games. So that was my gateway drug. And then once I had that, I realized, oh, I can fucking play this whenever I want. Like my parents don't know when I'm playing it.
Yeah,
So I'm
it's
just
you
gonna
in
play
your
it all
room.
night.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it all night and put it under a blanket, and they'll never know.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, well, why don't I just get other consoles? So I went out and bought a PS2, even though I wasn't allowed. And I bought all these games, and I was like, well, why don't I just listen to music I'm not allowed to listen to? And then I went
Yeah,
and
I
bought an
remember that.
iPod
Like-
without them knowing. I started listening to 50 Cent and like Offspring and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it just, man, it spiraled. That was the moment where I was like, okay,
I'm my own
I'm
man.
my own person.
I can play whatever games I want.
So the GameCube gave me that. It gave
gave
me
you
an
that power.
identity. Yeah. Man, I love that console. I still have it.
I like the GameCube too. I never owned one. No, I did own one at one point, but way later on in the life cycle. Like I probably in the PlayStation 3 life cycle at some point. I think I bought a GameCube.
Yeah.
And I played it at your place. I loved it. It was the multiplayer console. That was the Smash console. That was the Mario Kart. That was the Mario Party console.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of Nintendo consoles end up being, I think. But
And that's the other thing. Like, I played single player games on that. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't delve into multiplayer beyond Mario Kart
Yeah.
with my sister.
Right.
So I also was kind of, like, my experience was even further hamstrung by that.
yeah, because you didn't use it as the party machine.
But man, Resident Evil 4, we played through that in a night.
Dude.
We got it.
No, we didn't beat it in one night.
Well, we
though.
played overnight and then we kept playing.
Yeah, exactly. We just never slept.
Yeah, but
game
that
was
was
so good
that was
'cause-
such a cool experience. It's just burned into my mind
Me
because
too,
we were
dude.
passing the controller back and forth. I was threatening to shoot the merchant, and then
And
I
you
did,
did.
and then he
And then
didn't
we
come
were
back.
That was so much fun.
Usperoso
And then when we
Inferno.
finally got to like the final island and like those scariest creatures came up. The
Oh yeah,
pine
the
needle
twitchy
things.
guys.
Oh,
So twitchy. Just walk. You have to shoot him in the heart. You have to
Yeah.
go thermal and then shoot him in the heart.
yeah, so good. Well, I think that's
stuff.
about it for our formative console
Yeah.
little side quest episode. I think the
Side
quest
quest
has been
completed.
accomplished.
Completed.
Completed. How much experience do you get for this?
Me?
Well, I mean, the game pals, like 200?
They get. Yeah, it's pretty early on, so I think 200.
Yeah, I think it's like 200 experience and probably about 50 G.
and also 3 cheese wedges.
Okay, good. Yeah, that'll be good. And you eventually can craft those later on into something else. We'll
Yeah.
let you know what that is.
Yeah, melted cheese.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in this week, guys. Sorry we can't give you like all the latest news and updates, but Sean should be back for like I believe what the 3rd week of August.
I have no idea when I'm leaving
week
or
of
coming
August.
back. I don't pay attention to this.
But yeah, if you listen, you like the show, follow us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Twitter. You can review us on iTunes. That would really help. I don't know if we're ever going to get featured on there. I feel like maybe that gateway has closed.
Yeah, we'll
I don't
see.
know. We'll see.
Send us ideas if you think a certain topic would be really cool, or you want to hear from a certain type of person in the industry
Yeah, exactly.
or whatever.
We
Let
can
us know.
dredge up someone to bring on for the guest
Dredge them up,
episodes.
drag them on, air them out.
Write in questions, feedback to gamestuffpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at GameStuffPod. You can follow Sean at Sean_Crick.
Yeah, I'm super active on
And
Twitter.
then you can follow me at Big B Snyder. And we'll just be waiting to see it next week, I guess.
Yeah, just wait.
We're just waiting.
Me? You're waiting to see me?
Oh, see them. I'm not going to see you next week, thank God.
Yeah.
All right.
See
Goodbye,
ya.
everybody.
Side quest.
Side quest. That's ridiculous.
Side quest. You were just like fucking panicking. Side quest.
Okay, go.
Side quest.
Side quest.
Side quest.
Side quest.
Game stuff. Side.
No,
Fuck.
you fucked it up. It's you game.
We were doing
I do
well.
stuff.
We're
and then
getting into it now, though, 'cause that was a little rough.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Side quest.
Side quest.
Side quest.
Side quest.
Game.
Stuff. Side quest. Yeah,
You said duff.
Close enough. Okay, go again.